Segment 2, I told you we was coming right back at you with the raw content outside the box, talking the Passover and talking Easter. The funny thing about the word Easter is it's only mentioned one time in one testament, that's the New Testament, in the book of Acts, chapter 12. And guess what the meaning of that word is, according to the Bible? Passover. What an amazing discovery. The word Easter stands for Passover in every book you look into, other than the book of a gentleman by the name of the Venerable Bede, an English monk who wrote both in Latin and English. He's thought of to have been the first person to write scholarly work in English for the first time. Now, Bede, who did all of his work and writings during around the 7th and 8th century, stated in one of his books that we'll talk about in another segment that Anglo-Saxons worshipped the goddess Eostre, which he stated that the celebration time frame had a month that was named after Eostre, and that indigenous English name is Eostre month or Pascal month. Now, if you heard the word Pascal, we talked about it in the first segment, so go back and check that one out if you want to get the meaning behind Pascal. But there was a feast or festival held in Eostre's honor by the Anglo-Saxon, who are at that time considered the German people. In the scriptures, we know that the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus occurred around the time of the Jewish Passover. That Jewish time of Passover takes place between the end of March and the beginning of April. And guess what that time frame of Eostre month stands for? It's the end of March, the beginning of April. And that equates to spring for the Anglo-Saxons at that time frame. So Easter at that time supposedly was established in Europe. This springtime that we're speaking of is considered the vernal equinox. And that's like the first Sunday after the full moon. And it's the days that the hours of sunlight become progressively longer. Now, the equinox was at that time celebrated as a joyous festival of fertility, growth, and new birth, which relates to Eostre, who, as I told you in the beginning in the first segment, that Eostre was considered the goddess of sex, fertility, and new growth, or new season, or springtime. And I can't go any further than that in this segment. Let's digest this piece, and in the next segment, we'll deal with his book, more on Eostre, and why this holiday for Christ's resurrection is so related to a false goddess. Outside the box, we are out.